Hello, everyone. Hello to everyone. Welcome back to the Radical Edge of HR, powered by HR Knowledge Source. I am your host, Tanya Hawley, and I'm so very excited to be here with you once again. It's been a little while, so we're happy to be back. And today's topic is who's responsible for employee engagement. And of course, I've got the expert with me to discuss this. And let me just bring him right on in. We have today Mr. Troy Taylor with HRKS. Hello, Troy. Welcome back.
Hey, Johnny, how you doing today?
I'm doing great. I'm so happy to have you again. Thanks for coming and hanging out for a little while.
Absolutely, thank you.
Can you please just introduce yourself to everyone officially and tell them what you do at HRKS?
Sure. Again, my name is Troy Taylor. I'm a executive coach and a trainer, and I am the practice leader at Career Blueprint Pathways, and that's a division of HR Knowledge Source.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing that. So, as I said, everyone, I got the expert with me. So, we're going to pick his brain a little bit about who's responsible for employee engagement. And it may be something you never even thought of. You may be thinking, employee engagement, what? People just talk to each other and what? Somebody has to be responsible for that? Well, let's talk about it and find out. So, to get started, Troy, could you just first define employee engagement? Because some people really may not know what it is.
Yeah, so when we think of employee engagement, just the level that people are engaged in their current role, right? And so you have company, you have employees, and they're there to do tasks or projects. And so how much are they engaged in doing their work? Like how do the whole realm of that is called engagement. How effectively do they do it? How open-minded, how much do they apply themselves? Things of that nature, right? And so when you say the term employee engagement, people understand it as a general concept, but often really don't understand what it means from that standpoint, or think of it as something that could just happen.
Okay, very good. Right. That's what I think a lot of people think. It just happens.
Sure.
So, how engaged are employees? That question. How do you gauge that and
Yeah.
just for the work?
Yeah, great question. So, in a current study from Gallup of the State of Global Workplace from 2022, right?
Hmm.
So, when you think of 100 people in business, right? So, the stats tell us now that out of 100 people that may work at a company, 21 of those people are really engaged, right? They're there to do their work. They're moving
Wow.
forward, moving the initiative forward of the company. But then they say 19 people are actively not doing their work, not engaged. Kind of they're there, but they're like, it's okay, but I'm kind of not I'm kind of not doing my work. And the other 60% of people are there just kind of along for the ride. Hey, I do just enough to be here. I'm not going to do any more. May or may not do less, and I'll just leave it at that. And so
Hmm.
that's significant, right? So we're talking
Yeah.
about 79% are not engaged, and some of those are actively trying to sabotage what the company initiatives are doing. And so that's the state of the last poll of 2022 in terms of the state of the global workplace.
Wow. I would. That's a large number.
Hmm.
You know what I thought of when you said that? I thought of when people say they have, and this is primarily women, they have when they're expecting, they say they got a baby brain or pregnancy brain, or if they're getting ready to get married, they got a bridal brain, and they sort of check out because they can't
Yeah,
concentrate or focus.
yeah,
I think those people aren't engaged. That probably falls into that. I mean, so I guess it could have something to do with what might be going on in someone's life at that point in time as well.
yeah. It could be a lot of different reasons. So when you look at the 19% of people who are actively so they're actively sabotaging or just not doing work, right? So they're making a conscious choice, and then
Mm.
the other 60% are kind of in a state of I'm here, I may be distracted, I kind of know what's going on, but I'm not going to put any extra effort into it. And so it could be a lot of different reasons why they're kind of just sitting in that state. And so that's the part where where that 60%, that's the part where something can be done about it. If someone is actively not doing it, then that's probably a different conversation. But for that other 60%, that's something that companies can do something about.
Okay, very good. All right. So that was very interesting to me. That statistic. I didn't realize that many people are slacking. No, I'm just So my next question is interesting. How has working remotely impacted employee engagement? That's a big deal right now because everything has changed since COVID.
Yeah. So it's interesting. So you have like kind of two sides on a coin. So first, what I would say is it always depends on the role, right? There's certain roles that can work remotely, and there's other roles that either you can't work remotely or it's not ideal given the task or the responsibilities of that person in that given role. And so when we think just in general, what are the benefits? The impact of working remotely, the benefits, right? And again, the
Mhm.
statistics tell us that remote work, it allows for a more inclusive workforce, right? People can be
Mhm.
from other areas, can be differently abled, and so there's benefits to that. Some workers report being remote, being happier. It opens the door for self-determination. Hey, I'm driven to work at certain hours. That's my prime time hours of work, but it may not be the typical work day, but I still get my hours. And also, a lot of employees report better work environment, being comfortable in the space that they're in, and fewer
Mhm.
interruptions. And so, when you think of some of the consequences or negative impact per se,
Mhm.
96% of the executives say employees that work virtually have a disadvantage than those that not being in the brick and mortar, right? Being connected to their other workers, fewer opportunities to be connected, um, and other opportunities that may pop up, right? That kind of conversational, impromptu meetings kind of things. And also, sometimes executives rather, can view the lack of employee engagement as a sign of subpar performance. So if I kind of don't see you and you're really not engaged,
Mhm.
right, or your camera is off, I
Mhm.
can pursue, I can make an assumption that maybe something else is going on. And so there's, studies that we said sometimes people don't want the camera on or they're doing work, and there's always space for that. And there's something to be said for when we're actively doing projects and we're working on Engage. If Troy never has his camera on and he's not saying anything, is Troy really there? Right. And so that
Right.
just opens the door. And the fact that it opens the door for that question, that in itself becomes a distraction.
Mm. Good points. Let me just acknowledge we have a few people here remotely.
Okay.
I said remotely. I mean online commenting. I want to welcome. Thanks, Artie and Alma are both here, and Calvin Rich. Um, Alma has hashtag quiet quitting.
Right. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And she also says that McKinsey stated a large part of that 60% included poor career advancement.
Hmm.
Hmm.
Yeah. Absolutely. And so, and again, that falls under the heading that 60%. There's so much that can be done to kind of change that course of it. Because when people to use the term quiet quitting, it's kind of like I'm here, but I'm not really doing my work. Right. And so,
Mhm.
and if I'm really not doing my work, I kind of quit. Right. But I didn't officially tell you until you maybe
Right.
forced me into that situation. So it can open the door for a lot of different things. However, um, when leaders look at employee engagement, they're like, okay, let's just have a conversation or meetings, but there's so much other elements that can be done to change the dynamic or even create a culture where employees are more engaged.
Mhm. And that's it. That sounds like another topic of discussion. What can be done? But I'm not going to ask that. Let me go to the next official question. Um, who's responsible for this? Are employers responsible?
Yeah, so it's interesting when you look at who's responsible. So employers, they do have a responsibility, right? They have a responsibility to help create a space, right? Create a space and foster employee engagement, right? So it's creating that space, creating that environment where employee engagement can flourish. So,
Mhm.
in terms of setting the tone, leading by example, by the culture they want. In other words, we say we want engagement, and as leaders, we're going to engage, and
Mhm.
also getting feedback from their employees, right? And so that's the responsibility as an employer. However, employees have a role in that as well, right? Employees' job is to be engaged, right? Right, to be involved, right? So sometimes
Right.
employee might say, man, they should, people should can, the environment can be different here at that company. And who's the company? The company is really just a building with equipment. The
Right.
company or the culture, the engagement piece comes from people, right? And so employees
Right.
can be, when a employer sets the environment and tone, the employees could lean into that, be involved, contribute, and acknowledge that, hey, I'm also a part of this culture, right? Because it's really people. As people, we make the culture.
Okay. People
So the
make the
short answer is we both are
both.
employers and employees.
And I think it might be sometimes easy for people to point the finger at each other to say is the other person's responsibility. I would guess that would happen quite a bit.
Yeah, yeah, and obviously there are always situations and incidents where employees feel the way they do because things have been said or things that have been done or things haven't been addressed,
Hmm.
right? And things have lingered. And so, because of that, that can set a tone, which is why I said in the beginning, it starts with the employer, right? Setting the tone, leading by example, and getting feedback from the employees. And so now the employees have that. Now it's their job to acknowledge their part of the culture and contribute and to be involved, right? It's kind of, sometimes people are like, oh man, someone should do something about this. Well, we're all the someone.
Right. Yeah. Everybody's got to take the responsibility themselves. That's what it
Mhm.
sounds like.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because it's the people. So you kind of alluded to some things earlier, and I want to expound. What types of things can be done to help them? What can employers or employees do to help them be more engaged? Do you have any suggestions that we can share?
Sure. So, just a quick takeaway. One is acknowledge first that, hey, there's some things going on in our culture that we notice people are not engaged. And so, before you can become really self aware of the things to do, the first part is to self assess, right? And so,
Okay.
self assess by way of surveys, really interviewing your people, get an idea of what's going on in your culture, right? And if you're not getting those answers or those truthful answers, that's another indication too in terms of how people feel. That is the am I even in an environment where I can express myself,
Right.
right? And so, but the great thing is, if you have enough awareness to say something needs to be done, then you're moving in the right direction, right? First, self assess and really get an idea. That goes back to what I was saying earlier, getting feedback, right? And so,
Mhm.
there's things that can be put in place in terms of your approach, in terms of, and it starts with the top. Your people managers have to be involved. Your employees have to see leadership has committed to
Mhm.
this in
Yeah.
terms of showing their face as well. And obviously, the people manager are maybe leading initiatives, and everyone gets involved.
Okay. Great. So actually, I don't have anything else officially. Did you want to share anything before we end? We gave some tidbits, but I know people may have more questions. Do you have anything you want to close with, and then we'll tell them how they can get in touch with the expert.
Sure. So again, here at Career Blueprint, a division of HR Knowledge, HRKS, or many of you know it's HR Knowledge Source. We have a lot of solutions. We just got finished working with on a project with a corporation that many of you know, and increased their employee engagement by 46%. That's a lot,
Mm,
right?
it is a
46%. And so, how did that happen? By the way that we approach it, getting involved with the leaders, getting employees involved, and we took them through a process, right? Help them getting them to the outcome that they wanted, right? And so here at Career Blueprint, we have specific approaches, right, by way of trainings and also coaching as well to help companies achieve their goals. And so it doesn't have to be difficult, but it is work, right? And it is a process. And so we work with companies to help them get to the solutions that they want.
Wonderful. And I think you just answered Alma's question. She was asking, how does Career Blueprint help with employee engagement? So you
Yeah.
kind of just answered that. And what else does Career Blueprint do? Just out of curiosity for those that are watching.
Sure. So we have some signature trainings with one called Next, right? New Employee Experience Training, right? That's like kind of the first leg of employee engagement. In other words, when you're bringing new talent in, how are you even setting the tone for them, right? To really get onboarded, not in terms of just what to do, but the culture and what is the tone you want them to have going forward. So we have the Next New Employee Experience Training. We have a Career Navigator helping employees kind of partner with leadership or management at the company in terms of what is the next step for them in terms of their career. Because if employees join your company and they feel supported and they can navigate their career at your company, in other words, they see a pathway to success, what does that do? That makes them lean into your company even more, which in turns builds up retention, right? Increases retention. Again, that another element of employee engagement. We also have a lot of solutions that designed to help support middle management and new leaders as well too. And that's really where the rubber meets the road, so to speak. There was a report I read in Gallup a couple of years back that there's about 200,000 or so senior leaders. Mm-hmm. There's about 11 million managers, frontline or middle managers. So it's more managers than anything else. And so those are the individuals that need the support, need the training, right? How do they do less than more? How do they help lead the team? Sometimes individuals in these positions are not leading well, which can lead to retention issues. And it's not because they want employees to leave, it's because a lot of times they overwhelm and not support it, right? And so we have a process, we have a training for that as well, Mindful Manager, and also just some other elements in terms of what are you experiencing as a leader or as a company, and we can customize kind of that solution that's specifically for you, which is really what makes HRKS stand out as opposed to some of the other big time consultant agencies where they come in and kind of like, hey, we have this big solution and you automatically got to do this, right? Where at HRKS, we really customize and work with you to help you ultimately get exactly what you want, except for we help you facilitate that kind of get to that goal.
Absolutely. Great. Thank you, Troy. That sounds wonderful. So I'm hoping our audience, both watching and or listening to us, receive those nuggets. If you have any questions for us after this, I'm sorry, there's another question.
Sure.
Artie says, what are some options for increasing employee engagement when your workforce is remote? Thank you, Artie, for that question.
Oh yeah. So options in terms of we have a solution for that, right? When you have a workforce that's remote, there's some specific ways that you want to engage. First of all, you want to get a baseline of who those employees are, right? And you want to get a definition of terms of what does engagement look like for us that have half of our workforce being remote, right? And so that takes kind of identifying. So we help companies get clarity on that. We help them put some processes in place in terms of connection. And again, it's really about management and also employees leaning in and to do the work. And then sometimes companies are like, I'm kind of not sure what to do, but we do, and we're here to help.
That's right. We do, because we know HR. HRKS does, that is. So, okay, thank you so much. And again, thank you for the questions, everyone. If you have additional questions or you'd like to find out more information on Career Blueprint and how we might be able to engage or help you, as well as any HR issues or questions you may have, please reach out to us at any of our social media outlets at HRKS LLC. And we'd be happy to engage with you and speak to you and find how we can customize an answer for your particular issues, as Troy said earlier. So, Troy, thank you so much for joining me, the expert at Career Blueprint. Thank you.
Thank you very much, everyone, and enjoy your summer.
Wonderful. Thanks, Troy. Everyone, have a fantastic rest of your day. Thank you for joining us, and we'd be happy to have you. Remember, because at HRKS, we know HR. See you next time, everyone. Thanks. Bye-bye.